So part 2, and I will finish my story of my IVF journey. And so where I left off was I left the geneticist in Sarasota to go back to the reproductive medicine group in Tampa. So I start with them. He didn't even do an exam or anything. It's almost like, it was kind of cool because it's like, okay, you've got the medication, or actually we had to order more and everything, but I knew how to do it now. And so that was a relief that at least I felt comfortable with the injections. I felt like I was a pro at this point. Time went by to where I needed another HIV blood draw. I needed to go back to LabCorp for this and that. And so trying to work a full-time job Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then trying to squeeze in all of these appointments with them. And my office manager was just wonderful. She was so nice, and just everything was, yes, of course we can. Of course you can have that time off. Of course you can be late that day. And I just love her. Like, I'm so grateful for her and the job that I had, letting me be late so many times and letting me leave early so many times. And it was just awesome, because when I got the job in the beginning, I told her, I do want to accept this job, but I have to let you know that I'm about to start IVF, and there's going to be a lot of doctor's appointments. And that's fine. She said, we have a neighbor that went through it, and I know not exactly, but she knew that it was hard and that there were a lot of appointments involved and everything. So I start IVF with them. And again, my husband has to get a bunch of blood work done, that he just had. I had to get more blood work because time rolls on. And I had extensive genetic testing done at the other place in Sarasota. And I come to find out I was a genetic carrier for one thing, but it's something common that babies they prick their heel and test them for every newborn or whatever. That's what I was told. But I was just a carrier. I don't have it. But my husband, unfortunately, was a carrier for 3 genetic mutations. And when you read the descriptions of those genetic mutations, nobody should have to live through that. Like, they say that if a child makes it to birth with those genetic mutations, they will die within the first year. It was so bad. And he was a carrier for 3 of them. But anyway, start the cycle with them. And once again, my estrogen is so high that they want to cancel me after 2 weeks of birth control. Now I'm with the new doctor, the male doctor, who led the IVF forum class thing, whatever. And 2 weeks of birth control, they're like, I think it was like 200 and something, my estrogen. And they wanted to cancel. And I begged them. I said, no, please give me 1 more week. And she said, okay. And I think it was in that 3rd week that I Googled estrogen lowering foods. And this is the revelation. I mean, if you want to know how to lower your estrogen level naturally, this is how you do it. You eat a bunch of cruciferous vegetables. You steam Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, and you eat red grapes. And you eat that a ton every day. And that's what I did. And they didn't tell me how to lower my estrogen. They were depending on the birth control pills all on their own. And so I learned to eat cruciferous. I like eating that food anyway, but I didn't know that I should eat a ton of it every day and that would lower my estrogen, because the estrogen binds to that somehow and lowers the estrogen level. When I did my 3rd week, it came back at a good level, and they said, okay, we can start your injectables. I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. We're doing this. And so I did the injections, and everything was going well, because by then, and I was doing it in my stomach at this point. I'm so much better, so much nicer. I still had bruising and everything, but it was good. And we do the HCG shot, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I did buy a pregnancy test. I think I had one, an extra or something, but I took it the next morning just to have that experience. I wanted a pregnancy test that actually came out positive, even though it wasn't real. I just needed that. And I just did it. And so it was a digital too, so it wasn't cheap. And I used a digital and it said pregnant, and I'm just like holding on to that, like, let this be, you know, like, God, let me have a baby. I just always praying for that, praying every morning for my fertility, praying for healthy, fertile eggs, always praying for God to bless my womb of children. That's what I would always say. Lord, bless my womb of children. Praying in the morning until I went to bed at night, just throughout the day. Made it to the egg retrieval. And I remember the urologist that he had gone to before had said that, I think in 2016, that you can be sick and have a 0 sperm count. But he didn't mean cancer, like this horrible disease. He meant like the flu. Like, he just meant you can just be sick and have a bad sperm count, you know, but then it can cut, you know, then you're back to normal again or whatever. So I remember him always saying that. And so we get to the egg retrieval in the morning. We roll in at 6:30 in the morning, and we get out of the car, and my husband's like, I feel nauseous. So we get into the thing. I'm excited to do the egg retrieval. I'm super excited, but because I was kind of nervous. I was nervous and excited. So I was starting to do that shivering thing, and they thought that I was having an anxiety attack or something. So, you know, they put the IV in my hand, and it hurt like a you know what. And I thought it was almost like they were just taking my skin and just peeling it off of my hand. It hurt so bad and continued to hurt. And it was just the worst pain ever. And I thought, I cannot believe we're starting out this way. And so then I was starting to do the shivering thing. And so they just loaded me up with anti-anxiety, which I'm like, I'm not anxious. I'm excited. Like, I'm excited. I'm happy. Anyway, but they were calling it anxiety, and my blood pressure was too high. So they had to do all that. But anyway, so, and it wasn't my doctor that was doing the egg retrieval, because they're a group, whatever day you fall on. It's whatever doctor is scheduled during that time will do the egg retrieval. So it was some other guy that had no personality whatsoever. At least the male doctor that I was seeing was funny and personable. So we did the egg retrieval, and I woke up, and I wasn't groggy like all those people you see on the videos. You know, those people, they wake up from their video or from their egg retrievals, and they can't keep their eyes open, and they're all slurred and they're talking and everything. I was so alert and awake. I was ready to go. I could have driven us home. I didn't, but I could have. They got 3 eggs out of me, which I thought was pretty good, because I'd watched other videos where they'd gotten 3 eggs, and all 3 eggs were healthy and great. And these 3 eggs were mature and normal. Oh, well, except one of them split in half. So I had 2 eggs to work with that were mature and looked good under the microscope. And so it was time for my husband to do, so then my husband gave his sample. And so I'm still laying in bed. I'm still laying there, freshly waking up from, them telling me that you have 2 eggs. And then some little short woman comes in, and she looks at my husband and she says, "Can you give another sample?" And he's like, "What?" And then I'm like, "Why?" And she said, "We just need you to give another sample." And I'm very upset. So he goes, and it was about an hour since the first sample. So he gives another sample. And then they come back and say, "Never mind, we can use the first sample." So a little fishy. And I'm just, apparently, and I don't know who to believe, apparently in the first sample, all of them were dead on arrival except for 4. And she said they found 4 off to the side of the dish that were alive. And so that means that even the second sample, there was nothing alive to take from. Like they couldn't even use the second sample because they were all dead or whatever in the second sample. And to me, I'm thinking, I said, well, how's the morphology? You know, oh, good, good. But I'm thinking a live sperm and dying sperm is the same thing. I didn't say that at the time, but I had to go home and think, wait a minute. Did you inject dying sperm? You know, just because they're alive doesn't mean they're healthy enough to inject into my eggs. Maybe they shouldn't be used if they're off to the side twitching and dying, you know. But I even called back later, like a week later, to try to talk to the embryologist, and you know, but they're not going to tell me that. Oh yeah, we injected dying sperm into your egg. They're not going to tell you that. But I just know that's what happened, because the 5 days went by. And no, it wasn't even 5 days. The next day, when they checked to see if they fertilized, they said that there was no reaction whatsoever, that there was no fertilization whatsoever. And I thought, wow, I was so upset. I was so done with the whole thing. Just wanting to die at that point. Not really, but you know how you just want, you know, I'm just going to die, and I can't live through this anymore. And I'm just in such despair and so depressed, and all the while losing eggs every month and getting older and getting my AMH going down, and just, you know, everything seeming to be being against us, and just so depressed. And that was in October of 2017. So we had spent the entire year of 2017 fooling around with IVF, trying to just get one, you know, just trying to get the embryos. We couldn't even get, you know, and it took a whole year to get past birth control and to finally get to injections. My body did not like the medications and was fighting the medications. And that one egg retrieval, I don't even know how that even happened, because my body wants to do, oh, and then on top of the $12,000 that we paid and the $6,000 worth of medication that, thank God, was covered by insurance, in addition, they ordered me to take a human growth hormone, and that was $1,000. And insurance did not cover that. And the geneticist had me do that, and that was $1,000. And then I took it with that egg retrieval with the reproductive medicine group. So that was $1,000. And by then I'm like, we have to take a break because I need to pay off another chunk of my credit card before we can try this again. Cause then I would, you know, I wasn't charged. I got like a big, I don't know why I got a refund, but I was somehow wasn't charged the full amount. And so, and, you know, on top of that, there's PGS testing. So after the $12,000 for the egg retrieval and all of the ultrasounds and everything like that, $6,000 worth of medications, then the PGS test, genetic testing of the embryo, was another $2,100 or something like that. If you're in the clear for that and it comes back genetically sound, then the assisted hatching is $700. Because of being frozen, it needs to be assisted in hatching because of the freezing process. Because they said it made the zona pellucida harder or something like that. And then on top of that, $4,200 to transfer the embryo back into the womb after using the medications, the progesterone injections to prepare yourself for the transfer. And I don't know how much that medication was going to be. So lots and lots of money, and you're on the edge of your seat with fingers crossed, wondering if any of it's going to work. It's just crazy. Anyway, so that failed, and I was miserable and angry, and it was awful. And we got through the holiday season, and come January of 2018, I called and said, I'm ready to start IVF again. And then we had to jump through more hurdles because his sperm count was so bad during that whole process. This is the clincher. So then they're like, we want another semen sample. And he was like, not wanting to do that again. My husband was not wanting to do that again. And then they were saying on top of that, that they wanted my husband to go to their urologist so that he could get an ultrasound of his testicles to find out why he's not producing sperm. And my husband's like, no way. You know, we know why I'm not. And we know that, you know, I've already been to a urologist. I've already been examined. You know, he already had the testing done. So, you know, it's just like, because I told him about the Tessa surgery where they go into your testicles and extract sperm directly from your testicles. And he was all about that. He's like, sign me up. So, and then I would get mad at him saying, look at what I'm going through and you're not going to do this for me, and fight. You know, because I was bitter because I was going through all these injections, hormones into my body and missing a ton of work to go to these appointments, gas money to go to these appointments. You should have seen my the taxes for that year. When I added up all the mileage and the gas and everything, it was and lost wages. You know, I don't get paid when I leave work to go pay more money to try to have a baby. Yeah, so, you know, losing work, losing time, losing gas, wear and tear on the car, doing all the driving, and then wear and tear on my my body and spirit. It failed, and of course, because it failed, he wants to have a consultation. So I got to pay $50 for a sit down with the doctor to go over why it failed. He said that my AMH was so low that means poor quality of eggs. And I said, no, my eggs are good quality. And he's like, this test says that they're not. And he would say that I should just get an egg donor or adopt. And then they were talking to me about sperm donors and to have a sperm donor backup. So I said, fine. You know, I'm going to go through another IVF, but we'll do sperm donor backup. So then I had to go through the whole process. There were, the IVF coordinator gave me a bunch of websites of the sperm banks that they use to find a donor, just as backup. You know, I just, you know, agonized over these sperm donors and some of these guys, and they were showing the pictures, like their pictures were available. So I narrowed it down to like 3, and so I submitted my donors to the IVF coordinator and stuff so that they could have it ready. So, but they don't order them until you're about to have your egg retrieval. I think this was my 3rd true IVF cycle, you know, not counting the birth control cancellations, because, you know, I think I did that twice. So, but this was my 3rd true IVF process with the injections and everything. And so I started, but see, now I knew how to lower my estrogen. Oh, by the way, after the failed fertilization of those 2 eggs in the fall of 2017, I started looking up YouTube for egg health, and I came across, I can't remember her name, but it's Natural Infertility, I think is what it's called. Natural Infertility, natural, yeah, something like that. I think her last name is Garcia. I can't remember. Because I tried to look her up to tell you about her, but I can't find her anywhere. But she's there, and she was awesome. And she talked about Vitex for the follicle stimulating hormone if you're too high. Even though I was a 14, which was not the end of the world, I began taking Vitex every morning. So I was only taking, I forgot that it was supposed to be 1,000 milligrams. But the pill is 500 milligrams. So every morning, the recommendation was, so I wake up in the morning on an empty stomach. I take the Vitex first thing on an empty stomach with some water, And then by the time I make my lunch and do, make my coffee and everything like that, because they say just don't eat until 30 minutes after you take the Vitex. So take the Vitex on an empty stomach and don't eat until 30 minutes later. So I started doing that every morning. I watched a DHEA video. I watched all these women get pregnant off, after taking DHEA naturally. So I'm like, okay, I'll take DHEA. What do I have to lose? And this one girl, her doctor put her on it and said to take 75 milligrams a day. So 25 for breakfast, 25 for lunch, 25 for dinner. So I started doing that. I started taking DHEA, and I got that at GNC, but then GNC stopped carrying it. And so I had to go to the vitamin shop to get the DHEA. And there were several different DHEAs, even one for women, but don't take that one. Just take regular DHEA. But anyway, and then this German doctor talked about DHEA, and I really liked him. Norbert Gleicher is his name, Gleicher. Watch his video, really liked him. His was the first video that I saw that actually said, okay, I'll take DHEA, why not? Side effects are headaches, and it can deepen your voice. But I thought, that's okay, I can talk like a man if it means having a baby. So, no. So anyway, it didn't deepen my voice, and it did give me a couple of little baby headaches, but nothing I couldn't fight through, nothing that would, they would come and go. It was like those little background headaches, and then I thought maybe it's just a tension headache anyway. But I kind of think it was a little bit of that, but that was fine, worth it to me. And then on top of that, I was overdoing it big time. I was taking vitamin B complex. I was taking CoQ10. I was taking the Royal Jelly Combo bee pollen. It's all in one pill. I was taking maca root. I was taking vitamin D, vitamin E, and DE. I was taking, vitamin B, and then just go down the alphabet, and that's all the vitamins I was taking. Just go down the alphabet. I was taking all those vitamins. Vitamin C, not so much, just because I was eating a ton of fruit, because I really want, I didn't want to just take a bunch of pills. I wanted to eat it. So I was, eating a ton of fruit, which I kind of do anyway. So tons of little, mandarin oranges and kiwi. And then I really started eating a ton of blueberries and raspberries, putting those in my lunches, just doing all that kind of stuff. So I was taking a ton of pills. And then when I hit 2018 and was beginning this next cycle, I also added tribulus and parsley. Now I had the little home garden thing that I had gotten for Christmas. My husband gave me the little home garden thing where you grow herbs and stuff right on your kitchen counter. And parsley was one of them. So I was eating a bunch of parsley, naturally anyway, not in a pill. But then when those died and I ran out of little seeds, I got the parsley supplement. And so I was on all of that. I think it was 18 pills a day. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not telling you to do that. But I was lying to them, or, I was not telling them, they would only tell me, well, we don't know what's in that. Because I think I mentioned the maca root one time. Oh, we want you to stop taking that right now because we don't know what's in that. And it hasn't been approved, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, everything you're telling me to do is not working. And so I'm not listening to you guys anymore. And I'm going to lie to you now and tell you that I am only taking a prenatal vitamin. And that's in the CoQ10, and they gave me this little shallow list of, of vitamins to take, prenatal and CoQ10 and like vitamin C and, stuff like that. So I wasn't telling them all the things I was taking. I didn't trust them anymore. So I started the birth control again. So 2018, I believe it was March or April, May. It was March, I think it was, February, March. My third cycle of full IVF. Did the 2 weeks of birth control, ate nothing but steamed Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, ate like a big bowl of red grapes at lunch every day. And when it came time for my blood test to see where my estrogen level was after the 2 weeks of birth control, it was at like a 26. So for all of you out there who have high estrogen levels naturally, and you're being denied the continuation of your cycle because of your estrogen level and the birth control not working, you've got to do that. When you start, because the birth control is not going to do it all on its own, you need to eat that food to make your level go down. And it really bothered me that they could not give me that information, that I had to go off on my own and figure it out all by myself. It's like, at that point I told my husband, I said, you know what? I don't trust them anymore. And I'm just, at this point, just using them for their services. Because it was not, they didn't make a special plan for me. This was a protocol that was just across the board for everybody. You know, this wasn't specific to my body and specific to me and my test results. So I just, you know, whatever. I'm like, okay, you know, I'm going off on my own and doing my own research to figure this out. So sure enough, and you should have heard her voice, oh, 26, that's amazing. And I'm just like, like I wasn't surprised. I mean, I was excited, but I'm like, wow, 26, you know. So I was super excited about that. And then, so once again, okay, we'll call you with your instructions. So I started my injections like 3 or 4 days later, went through all my injections, but here's the bad part, which there's always a bad part. I think I was 3 days away from, I think I had started my first Fertility, and they had called me and left a message, and I called them. I was at work and stepped out of the office outside to get this phone call. She said, and the message was, please call us back. I have a question for you. So I called her back. It wasn't a question. She says, we have to cancel your cycle. And this is during injections. So I still have like 2 Gonalef pens left. I've got all of my Fertility left, or I've got no, because I was nearing the end. I was getting close to HCG injection. So I had like a couple Fertility left, because I always had an extra Fertility left over anyway. I always had an extra Fertility. And she said, we have to cancel your cycle. And I'm just like, oh, I mean, I was so numb by this point. So to have her say that, I'm just like, oh, okay. Why? She said my estrogen had dropped. Now I wasn't eating. See, I stopped eating those cruciferous vegetables. It's not like, so once that was over, I was done with that and back to my regular routine, because they had done their job and I used them for that. And when I was doing the injections, you know, they take your blood every time you go in, and then they do the ultrasound to watch the follicles rise. So my follicles were rising and developing, and my estrogen was consistently going up the way it was supposed to, but somewhere around 400, it peaked, it stopped, and it started to drop again, which meant that it was failing. And so she said, I'm sorry, and that we'll have to do another consultation with the doctor, another $50 consultation with him. So I'm just like, wow, you know, so I stopped all medications just like that. So, you know, you think that money's down the drain. All the driving up to Tampa was, you know, all that effort down the drain. All the money spent doing the injections and stuff were down the drain. It's just, all my hopes are down the drain, you know? And so I go to this consultation that I have to pay for again. And he sits there, and I remember I'm in another room waiting to be seen. They actually put me in an exam room waiting to go into the consultation room in his office. And I can hear through the walls, and I'm hearing him tell another couple that her eggs are great and that his sperm is great and that she just needs a little help with Femera to get pregnant. And I'm just like burning mad. You know, just she's getting encouragement, and she gets to be told that, you know, that she's going to have babies. And it's just, you know, and I'm constantly being told that I don't get to have kids, that my body's fighting the medication, that I'm a poor responder, and I should just get a donor egg, which are $5,000 each, by the way, and $2,500 to $5,000 a piece, and or adopt. And I just, you know, adoption's awesome and wonderful, and I'm so glad people do it, but I just knew that I was to have my own baby. My dream was to have my child, you know, and I wanted to have my baby. And so I'm sitting in his office, and he calls me in. I sit down, and he goes over the results with me and says, you know, he goes, I was really excited about this one. Like, he was really hopeful. I'm thinking, yeah, right. And, but he was really nice and stuff. And not to mention, let me back up for just a second to say that in order to get the donor sperm for the backup, they required us to go to Tampa, to drive all the way up to Tampa to see a counselor, to tell some strange woman who's like a psychologist to get her approval to use donor sperm for my IVF cycles. So that's another slap in the face, that I have to go to yet another stranger to ask their permission to have a child. It was so frustrating and angry. And that was $250 just to get her, just to tell a stranger that, yeah, we want to use donor sperm as backup. So that was $250 and time off of work, driving all the way up to Tampa to some neighborhood where her office was. So anyway, fast forward again. So I'm sitting in his office, and he basically tells me, just adopt. Or he goes, get an egg donor or just adopt. You're too nice to be going through this. And basically telling me just to stop trying, to give up all hope and get a donor egg because mine are poor quality. Even though I was taking all those medications, I was like, I am fertile. I know that I'm fertile. I said, I just need sperm. You know, it's like the whole time this is going on, I would, you know, talk about it with friends and family. And it's like, if I just had sperm the way I want it, you know, I could get pregnant. And that's why we joked about the UPS man or, you know, whoever. It's just like, all I need is sperm. Just so frustrating, and I couldn't stand it. And so I started crying as I stood up to leave his office. And because I asked him, I said, can I just do donor sperm IUIs from here on out? And he said, sure, you know, like, that's fine. And I said, okay. And so I left the office, and for the millionth time, cried myself all the way home. So picked another couple donors, picked a new one, I think. So I did an IUI with a donor sperm, and it failed because this is another thing. They told me to take the ovulation predictor test between 1 and 4. Then the IVF coordinator told me, take it every day at 3 p.m. And so I did that, but it's like, and I did this because I ended up getting the smiley face one. I'm like, this is too important now. Now I'm at the point where I'm relying on good quality, you know, high numbers of sperm in an IUI. So now I am going to make sure that my test is accurate. And so I got the smiley face clear blue ovulation predictor kit. And you can have the positive result any time of day, not just between 1 and 4. So if I test at 3 o'clock and 2 hours later it becomes positive, I should have called that day to schedule the next day to go in for the IUI. But if I listened to her, I would not test after 3 p.m. and I would not know that I was all of a sudden positive after that. And I would go in too late. And that's exactly what happened. And I went in, I knew that I was ovulating, and I did it according to their instructions. And I knew, and I even called saying, I ovulated last night. I gotta get in now. And so the first IUI did not work. and I did not get pregnant. And then I found out that his motility was at 29% when they guarantee 32 to 50%. So then I tried to fight that, and I tried to get my money back for that, and they wouldn't give me my money back. And we followed all protocol, and that was the sperm bank saying that. So they had to do an investigation. They had to contact the office to make sure that they had done everything that they were supposed to do in the right way and in the right order, and handled correctly in the right, in the laboratory. And so, of course, I'm not getting my money back for that. So I picked another donor and did it again. And so I went in on day 13 and got the IUI. But here's the funny thing. Even though it was always like clockwork, I knew that I didn't ovulate till day 14. For some reason, it had delayed a day, and I didn't actually ovulate until day 14, which never happens ever. And I thought, well, that's okay because the sperm live inside of you for 3 to 5 days, so I'm still okay. As long as it was there waiting for the egg to come through, I should have been fine. Anyway, I wasn't. I didn't get pregnant that time either. I felt devastated. And then I go to YouTube again to look for answers and to find out what to do now. Here I am. It's May of 2018, and I'm back on YouTube looking for answers. And I don't even know how it happened. I don't know what I clicked on. I don't know what, but it came up. It was a sperm bank home insemination kit that actually sends the sperm to your house with a syringe, and you do the injection of sperm at home. I about lost my mind because I couldn't believe that even existed. After all I've been through with the doctors, after all the appointments, after all the injections, after all the ultrasounds, after all of the medication, after all of the exams, after all of them saying that you don't get to have kids because you're too old, and got a double whammy of infertility with your husband having no sperm and you being low ovarian reserve, I'm sitting there watching a video saying that they will send it to my house. Freaked out. Looked it up online, read all the details, and there it was. Must have a physician's approval. Why do I need a doctor's approval? And I asked them that and sent it, and they never wrote me back. And that was the International Cryobank, I believe. And then I saw another one. It was Northwest Cryobank, and it's actually based out of Spokane, Washington, which I'm from Washington. And they don't require any physician approval whatsoever. You fill out a profile, you make your selections, you pay your money, and they will send the sperm to your house in what they call a dewaar, which is basically a cryo tank with the frozen sperm in it in a little vial, and you can buy as many as you want. It's like I had hit the jackpot. I'm so excited. I just couldn't believe it. So I think day 1 of my period was, and I had taken a vacation too. The doctor I worked for took 2 weeks off in May, and so I was off for that 2 weeks. And that's when I was doing all this research and finding all this stuff out, and had made the selections, had signed up for Northwest Cryo. What they do is they do photo matching. So, and it's cool because I would contact them, and they would contact me right back with answers. And so I said, I want photo matching. So they said, okay, great. Send us pictures of your husband. They said, because our donors most of them are in their 20s, to send them the picture of my husband in his 20s. And so my husband gave me 2 pictures. He gave me one of his 18-year-old high school graduation picture. And then he also had me submit a picture of him when he was 25. And so I sent those to them, and the photo matcher sent me back 4 matches who looked just like my husband. But they don't show you adult pictures. They only show you newborn pictures up to like 3 or 4 years old to protect their identity. which is weird because then there's all these other ones that the guy's right there. So that's kind of, I don't know why. It's just preference, I guess. Some people don't want to ever, know or have them found out or whatever. So total anonymity. Some of those donors choose to allow you to contact them when the child's 18. And then some are just like anonymous the whole way through, saying they don't want to be contacted ever. So here I am in the most desperate place of my life, doing absolutely everything that I ever said I would never do. So never say never is a true statement, because I'm doing things that, that I was so against just 2 years, 3 years earlier. 2 years earlier. So unbelievable just how you change over time, and how if you want something bad enough, you will do it. You will figure it out. That's the place I was at the time. And I felt very hopeful. I was so pumped about this. They sent me 4. I picked the one I wanted. And then for $25 more, you can purchase their baby pictures. So I spent the $25. They sent me the baby pictures. I opened it up. I looked at the baby pictures. I sat down and I bawled my eyes out, because he looked exactly like my husband. There was a 10-month-old picture. He's all sitting there. He's all chubby and cute. It looked exactly like my husband's baby picture when my husband was that age. And then the 2 and 3-year-old picture, so cute, such a sweet looking, cute little boy. So I cried and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. And so I paid, and it was funny, they were having a special. It was a spring baby special. Buy 4 vials and you get 25% off. So I'm like, sweet. So you buy 3, you get 1 free. So I bought 4 vials and 2 insemination syringes. No, 4, I think I bought 4 syringes. Yeah, I had to have 4. Yeah, so I had to have 4 syringes. And so just little tiny, skinny little, they're like that long and just like skinnier than a pencil. These these syringes. I ordered all of that. It came to about $1,600. And what's cool is, so they say you can pick the day you want it delivered on. So I'm like, okay, I need the Dewar delivered on day 12 because I know I'm gonna ovulate on day 13. So I had the Dewar, and I can submit a picture of it too. So, but what you do is, so you fill out all the information and everything, and you sign it and you order it, and it comes to your house in a Dewar. So, and then you pick your day. So I said I need it delivered on, so I started my period like on I think the 24th. So, count 12 days later. 12 days later was June 4th. So day 12 of my cycle was June 4th. So I needed it delivered that Monday. On that Monday, I had my clear blue ovulation predictor kit, and my lunch at work is from 12:15 to 1:15. And so at 1 o'clock on June 4th, I went to the bathroom and peed in a cup and did my ovulation predictor kit. And sure enough, smiley face popped up at 1 o'clock. And so I showed my coworker, who I would tell all of this stuff to. We were always talking about it all the time. I go, see, smiley face. And she's like, oh, wow. Because she was trying to do it too, trying to have kids too. Not quite ready for an actual visit with a fertility doctor, which I highly encourage her to. I keep trying to get her to go, but she won't do it. I showed her the smiley face, and so then I heard from my husband through text messaging that the Dewar came. I get home and I'm like, I pull it out of the box, and then it says, don't take it out of the box. So I'm trying to put it back in the box. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're here. So it's 7 o'clock that night. I layered up a bunch of pillows on my bed so that I would be up, with my hips up in the air. And what you do is so I figured it out. I was gonna do 1 vial at 7 p.m. And then in the next morning, I was gonna do 2 vials at the same time at 7 p.m., which it ended, or 7 a.m., because then people are like, they recommended every 12 hours to do it every 12 hours. So in 12 hours, it would be 7 a.m. And I would do 2 of the vials. And then just at 9 o'clock at night, I was gonna do the last vial. So I did the first vial at 7 o'clock that night. And what you do is you take it out and you wear, I was just wearing nitrile work gloves, and because you can get frostbite, and it sits alone on the counter for 3 minutes. And then you pick it up and you hold it in your hand for another 5 minutes. And believe me, I had a timer going. I was not going to screw this up. Once that 5 minutes was up, took the syringe out and I sucked it all up in the syringe, and you could smell it. It smelled like semen. And you know, it's unwashed because it was just like regular ejaculate. I mean, that's what it was. And so went to the bedroom, did it, and then I laid there for 30 minutes. And then that was that. And then in the morning, got all ready for work, got my makeup on, got everything ready to go. And then it was like 7:25, and I'm like, I gotta hurry and do this. So I thawed out 2 vials and then put 1 in each syringe and did syringe after syringe. It's 7:25 in the morning because I have to leave the house at like 7:50, 7:55 in the morning. So I did those 2 syringes in the morning. And I remember sitting I'm a dental assistant, so I'm sitting there, we're doing a root canal. And I remember all of a sudden feeling my, my chest go ping. Like it was the weirdest feeling in the world. And I'm like, wow, I think I just conceived. Like, wow. You always hear people talk about, oh, I know when I conceived. And like, how in the world can you know something like that? But my body did that, and that's never happened before. And so I was very hopeful and excited. And then at 9 o'clock at night, I did that 4th vial. And that was it. And then Wednesday, packed up the douar, went to FedEx, sent the douar back, because they'll charge you I think it's like $400 or something like that for a new douar if you keep it too long. So I sent it back to FedEx, went on to the weekend, and then back to Monday again, Monday, Tuesday. Took a test on day 6 or 7, or just to do it. I just, because I'm addicted to tests. And I've been taking tests every month for the last 4 years. And so I know what negative tests look like for sure. And of course it was negative. And so DPO, day number 9 was Thursday. And I was totally dehydrated that day. I was just so tired, didn't get to drink water like I needed to. It was a busy day at work. I kind of felt a little lightheaded at times. I'm like, man, I'm so tired. I'm just, ugh. So I go home, pull out one of I think I bought like 5 88 centers from Walmart. And then I had a first response pink line, and then I had the digital. I pull out an 88 center, and right before my shower, did my little drops, set it on the counter, took this shower, which was way too steamy and hot. And I'm just like, this is killing me. I feel so tired and hot. And I come out of the shower and I pick up and it'd been 10 minutes. And they always say, don't read past, whatever. They don't read past or 5 minutes or something like that. Or see the test in 5, don't read past 10. It had been 10 minutes or so. And, but I didn't care because I knew it was going to be negative, right? So I pick it up and I look at it as I'm ready to pass it to the trash can. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on? What is that? And it was so weird. It looked like the window had this swirling pink line, like the Aurora Borealis, just this swiveling, like weird. And I'm like, it's still thinking? Like, that's weird. You know, usually I am stark white negative, you know, right away, you know, from the very get-go. Why is it still thinking about it? And then I continued to look at it, and there it was, just the faintest little line down at the bottom, right next to the T, because, you know, you got the control line and then the T line, the test line, and there it was, and it was positive, and I was so shocked. In my very first positive pregnancy test ever. I was so excited and happy, and of course I started shaking and shivering like I did back at the egg retrieval. Just started shivering. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. I can't believe I'm really pregnant. And I'm just like freaking out. And I'm like, and it was so cool because, you know, with IVF, all of that joy and that, you know, conceiving at home and taking that pregnancy test at home are taken from you. You go to the clinic to have your blood drawn, to, you know, you wait for that phone call to find out if you're pregnant or not. And some people take tests anyway, and then they find out that the blood work doesn't match. All of that I had gone through, and in the very end of it all, I got to conceive naturally in my own home, and I got to take a test in my own bathroom like I always wanted to do. And so for me, it was like such an answer to prayer. You know, God did it for me. He did it. And, you know, I was so excited. I go out, you know, I get dressed, and I'm just in total like shock. Like, I can't even think straight, but I'm shivering. It's like I'm having some kind of a seizure. And I go out into the kitchen, and my husband's sitting in his chair, and he's like, what's wrong with you? And I said, I'm just cold. Because I wanted to do the surprise. I wanted to do I wanted to surprise him like people get to do. I could have just come right out and said, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, look. You know, and he even said, why didn't you do that? You know, and I'm like, no, I wanted to surprise you. And so I came out into the kitchen, and I was just shivering and shaking and just like, I couldn't even think straight. And then we sit down to watch this new show that we don't even watch anymore because, I don't know, it got lame after a while, but it was this new show we were starting to watch. I think it was called Haven or something like that. And so we're sitting there watching it, and so we're watching it, and this is me just staring off into space. And he would look at me and he goes, are you even watching this? Like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm watching it. But and then, you know, so I'd watch the, you know, show, and then I would do this. Because I just couldn't believe that it worked. But I could believe it worked. Like, everything I ever said about myself was true. I was fertile. I'm not too old. I do have eggs. I just needed the sperm. And nobody would believe me. Doctors shut me down. Didn't believe me, told me I was too old, that my eggs were infertile, that I was not going to have kids, that my chances of conception were 2 to 3%, to just give up and go away, because I was not a good statistic for them to add to their statistics. You know, I wasn't a good bet for them, and which is awful. So all day Friday, I'm at work going, I can't believe I'm pregnant. Oh my gosh, you know. And then Saturday, and then that night after work, I bought little t-shirts and decal little letters. So my husband has a second job that he goes to on Saturdays and Sundays. And so he was gone, you know, he's gone for 5 hours in the middle of the day on Saturdays and Sundays. So on Saturday, I got the t-shirts out and I ironed on, I'm a big brother. And I had all 4 dogs wear the t-shirts. So when he came home from work that day, I had my phone set up to tape. And so when he walked in the door, all the dogs were wearing t-shirts that said, I'm a big brother. So so I got to do that. I mean, I got to do that. I got to conceive at home naturally. I got to take a test in my own bathroom to find out all on my own. I got to do the reveal for my husband like I've always wanted to surprise him. Oh yeah, he cried. Like, he cried. And I'm like, are you crying? And he's like, yeah, because it was over. It was all over. Just the burden and the release and the tension and everything is gone. And I just thank God, and I put all my thanks into him for doing this for me, for letting me be pregnant. And I am 33 weeks and 3 days today. So, and I'm having a girl, and she is cute. And so I love her very much, and I can't wait to see her. My due date is February 28th. My doctor does not want me to wait till February 28th because I'm 41. So anyway, that's it. And let's see if I can get a belly shot in here. Let me just back up a little bit. So this is her. And my husband calls her Little Miss. So there she is, and there's my belly button poking out. But yep, he just calls her Little Miss. It's very cute. And everybody at work asks me, well, when she's coming out, because they think I'm so big. So I am big, but I'm measuring the way I'm supposed to. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more or want to know how this continues on, please subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much. Bye.